Ryland, you gonna show anything today?
I don't have anything. I haven't done any work since last meeting.
Okay. Gene,
Well, sure I do. And now for something completely different. Okay, let me get to my boat. And here is the view of it as of today. I've begun assembling most of the components, the bigger pieces. I had to go back and redo some of the parts that were not done correctly the first time, such as the davits for the 26-foot boat. They needed to be protruding through the bulwark there, so I accomplished that. And we could just kind of take a view around the deck briefly on some of the details. I've got to start making some more parts to glue on, so it's slowly coming together and beginning to look like something. Okay, why won't this go?
you missing some deck drains there or something? Do you have those in the corners? I'm just giving you a hard time. So are you missing the deck drains?
Oh, well, they need yet to be drilled. I have to.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I have to do that before I do the railing because I'm not going to be able to access it then. Yeah. At this point in the construction, I'm in danger of building myself in the corners. So I have to plan from the inside out what I'm going to connect and do and plan. So I had thought about the drains, you know. In fact, Sean was over yesterday. And we had a discussion about that. So, all right.
Did Sean give you the pattern for the drill?
For the what?
The deck drain pattern. Did he give you that?
Well, I have the plating the diagrams for the main deck and so forth. So yeah, no, I can spot some of it if I know what I'm looking for. Maybe I'm just looking for a little black dot on the diagram, and that'll be a drain. I don't know.
That black dot turns into a drill pattern.
Yeah. Anyways, here is the triple mount torpedo, and it's secured. I embellished the controls a little bit so that wait a minute. Let me get back. There we go. So you can see the dials a little bit better. I did this by making a blank cover in photo etch with the holes and then mounting the dials from behind so they're slightly recessed. Something you'll never see once it's all put together because you probably won't be able to get your face in close enough. Here's one of the elevated 20 mounts. The K-guns and their supports, they're pretty much done with all of the little details, the anchors, the photo etched control panels and stuff. I added some of the placards for the doors, the little Z's and the Y's and the X's that are all over the boat. I had the research to find out which was which. But as you can see, it's coming together piece by piece. And there's one of the fueling, what do you call it? I don't know, tanker. Scuttle. Yeah. Everything with a hatch, I guess, is a scuttle. And I've yet to do some of the the vents, hence the opening right there. But we're getting to it. There's a nice little close-up of some doors with their little placards on there. And there'll be a nice big vent that goes right between them there. I'm going to cobble those up today. And one of the boom or the davit mounts. And yes, I see it. I'm missing a few screws. I'll have to fix that. You know, I hate cameras. You know, you take up close-up pictures and you find stuff like this after the fact. So, oh well. Up on the foredeck, the controls for the anchor, the winch, and so forth. and another skull with little photo etched lockdowns and so forth. And this we'll move on to. Okay, come on, there we go. Now this is how I did the flag bags for the boat. I wanted to have them depicted open, so I had to fill them with flags and lots of detail. These would be the placards denoting which flag is mounted where, and they were just decals that I had made and scaled. I then would mount them to the bag. Hence, the next step, mounting the clues, I guess, for each flag onto a comb arrangement, which I had etched. And then I had to make the flags, and they were made typically like you would anything like that. Decals, I printed out a decal sheet, glued it to, or affixed it to a piece of tin foil, cut them out so that I could shape the flags and insert them into the bag. And this would be the effect. All the flags just kind of folded up and stuffed in there. Now, I just kind of randomly mixed them. I didn't actually hang them in the appropriate slot. I wouldn't have a clue how to do that. It was just too much trouble. So this sufficed. Oops. And that's the final effect with the flags hanging in their little comb arrangement. And I'll rig a couple of them up on the mast eventually, and maybe have them a couple of missing. I don't know, but that's the way of the flags. And then whoops, we're back to the beginning. Anyways, that's where we are. That's as of today.
Outstanding.
Wow.
All right.
You definitely set the bar for me.
Wonderful work, Gene.
I just shake my head every time.
Yeah. In May.
Tom? You don't usually have any in the show, but I don't want to skip anyone. No. Kevin? Nope. Mr. Rosario. I said Tom. I guess that was ambiguous now, isn't it? I meant Saunders before. Now it's
Yeah, I'm good.
okay. All right. John? Or Sean?
All right, we're unmuted. I have nothing, but Sean has something.
All right, go for it.
You need to share the screen?
Well, yeah.
We're gonna swap seats.
So I don't like this whole thing about coming behind Gene, because I'm not going to be anywhere near like his stuff. You got to see his model in person. It is absolutely amazing.
I do this to you on purpose, Sean.
Yeah, I know. It's like almost every meeting I'm behind him, and I'm never going to come close to his work. It's pretty cool. So this is my continuing build of Siren. I came across in doing some research on the Tripolitan War. I came across this temporary painting that a gentleman did, which shows the bombardment of Tripoli, and in the foreground is Siren, or his rendition of Siren, with Constitution, with the Hercules figurehead of that era in the background. And I really, really liked this painting. So I decided that instead of building my Siren to the War of 1812, which was the original intent, which she was modified before that war, her armament was changed to include two 42-pound carronades, and then her long 12s were removed and went with 9s. And then her name was changed from a Y to an I, which is what I've been labeling mine up until this point, was with the I. But now I think because of this painting, and I like his interpretation of the stern, better than what the kit's interpretation was. So I'm going to revert to the war of the Trippian War. And now my model is going to get renamed it's just lost the term, but instead of going in the direction of a Y to an I, I'm going backwards. I'm going from an I to a Y. So my siren is now going back to like everybody else's, which is with a Y. So I wanted to show that I have something that I'm going to kind of try to replicate. And now that Tom did that really good presentation on sales, I might have to do something along the lines of doing this when I get to that stage, which will be a really long time. So here's my current progress. I didn't make a lot of progress on siren because I've been planking the lower portion of the hull with the maple. Had to do a lot of soaking, a lot of preforming. Really had to use up every bit of clamps and so forth to try to make this hold so that I could get it to form well. I used anything from bull clips to long fingered clamps to actual what do you call the clamps with the bar, sliding bar type clamps. Used a whole variety of different type of clamping and jigs to get everything to bend correctly, and then the actual gluing portion. So this is the starboard side. I've laid all the planks in and I started rough sanding it. I used 60 grit and 100 grit to get the maple down to a smooth surface. And now I'm going to go back over it with eventually 120 and then 220 to get it to a point where I can put a clear coat on it and then begin coppering. The areas that I'm going to leave natural, I'm actually going to take that all the way down to 320 grit to get it as smooth as possible. So Gene mentioned that I was over at his house yesterday, and he also mentioned in his presentation that the camera reveals all. I noticed after I took my pictures that I have a little bit of fuzz from the glue lines, and then I have this pretty good size scrape along the side. By the naked eye, I can't see it. And I had already taken this down to 220 grit. And so I was really surprised by what the camera revealed. So I've got a little bit more cleaning up and sanding, but I probably will use the camera to take pictures all along the hull when I'm done to make sure that all these little imperfections that I'm seeing in the wood go away. But Gene, I did take your advice. The camera does not lie. So this is you can see all my planking as it comes up under the counter. I haven't put the stern post in yet. That'll come in once I have all my rough sanding completed. This is just a screenshot looking down. We had talked a few meetings ago about the possibility of what I might do for Canon. This was a just kind of mocking things up to make sure that my stern gun ports were sized properly and located correctly. This is a cannon that I had turned out of aluminum many years ago when I was contemplating an Essex hull in this same scale. So I found it in one of my my boxes, and I decided to use it as my mock-up. It won't be the cannon that will go in for the long 12s on the stern. I'll probably redo it. I'm not happy with the muzzle portion of it. But it is something I'm thinking about, and I will likely do a master panel pattern. There we go, and cast it for the two that I need on here. I don't think I'm going to turn them individually. Here's a picture of the stern. Again, all of my planking that's coming up into the lower counter. You know, the starboard side has been completely rough sanded. I still have a lot to do on the port side. I have not finished doing the rough sanding on the port side. I glued up the last of my planks Thursday night. Here's the shot of the bow. Again, I've sanded, rough sanded the starboard side. You can see all of the rough where I've laid in. I haven't done any sanding on the bow yet for this. So again, the camera doesn't lie. I still have some more cleaning up to do on the upper portions. And then last month we had a conversation about coppering, and I had mentioned that I wanted to do a good patina type of coppering for the hull. And a lot of folks had mentioned that a hull in water would likely not get that much in patina other than maybe just a darkened penny color. But this is, I did some research and found a number of photographs of the Constitution just as she came out of the water on her last dry docking. And you can see that while in water, she did have quite a bit of patina. This is just out of dry dock. They haven't started to do any work or tearing up to replace the lower planks.
Someone said that that was because they couldn't get to oxygen, but there's plenty of oxygen in the water. Constitution sits still. I imagine that a ship that's constantly underway might have enough abrasion to keep it more of a copper color.
Yeah, that's a true statement. The speed of the ship through the water wore the patina away.
Food for thought. I still like the looks, so I'm still thinking on this line.
It's your model. I was just trying to address the scientific half of it.
Yeah, I gotcha. But so this is again another shot of Constitution, and this is where they were actually draining the dry dock prior to work. So quite a bit of patina. And then I think my last picture, this is a contemporary model that somebody was working on where they showed how they did some of that patina that, again, I had seen before and had liked, and will likely do something along those lines.
After Sirens sat in ordinary for a little while or something, you know, you can string a story together to support however you want to do it.
No, interesting question. Interesting question. When they went to coppering, originally they used iron nails with the copper until they found out electrolysis killed the nails and the copper fell off.
Yes.
The pintles and gudgeons, were those iron or something else? Wondering, just wondering.
Honestly, I don't know at this stage. I'm not sure.
That's
I haven't
a
gotten
good
that
point.
far yet.
I have seen them made out of brass on, at least on some Civil War boats.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing is though, you know, copper materials would probably be kind of not as durable. Maybe, I don't know, but I'm thinking if galvanic was a problem with the nails, wouldn't it also be a problem with the pintles and gudgeons? But
Yeah, that's a great point. I can't imagine it be copper because I would think that would just be too soft of a material
soft, yeah.
to take the pressures of the rudder.
yeah, too soft.
Yeah. But that's my presentation. So that's kind of where I'm at today.
Oh, just a note, Sean. Last month I was talking about the tape that I got for Joe McCleary. What that is called shielding tape. And it comes in various widths, and it's got the adhesive on the back, and you may look at that online and see if any of that may be suitable for you to make your plating from. It's about 2 to 3 thousandths thick.
All right, I'll take a look at that. I also talked to Gene about it yesterday, and now that I have a photo etching set up, I'm intrigued of the possibility of photo etching copper plates to make it kind of consistent versus trying to stamp it out. I've read a lot on the NRG site of folks having a difficulty in using the foil and doing a consistent stamping pattern that looked realistic. And so Gene's suggestion of photo etching is intriguing. And so I might play around a little bit with that before I go too far. But I'm still probably several months away from a point of coppering today, because I got to do I got to thin the bulkheads down for the interior. I got to plank the interior, and then I got to lay the decking down so that all the rough, hard stresses that I'm putting to the hull are done before I'll stop putting something on as delicate as the coppering. But so I'm still a ways away. Still researching it though, to try to figure out what's the best way I want to display it as. But I'll take a look at the shielding tape too.
All right. It's looking good so far, Sean.
Thank you.
Charles, do you have anything you want to show today?
Sure, can you hear me?
Yep.
I got a new mic and new camera. My other one wasn't very good, so. I'd like to say I've done a lot of modeling, but life's been in the way for about the last 8 months. So procurement, again, is outpacing production. And, you know, but they say if you can't ramp up production if you don't have anything, you know, idle standing by for production. So those of you in the shipyard business know that a well-stocked shipyard is what you really need. So my credit card thanks me, company thanks me. This is a 1/200 scale 3D printed model of the Smith class destroyer, USS Smith, lead ship. Company, I found this on eBay, $60, multimedia kit, free shipping. So don't buy it anyplace else, just get it on eBay. It comes out of China. It has everything. The resin hull is as smooth as injection molded plastic. I've got other 3D printed products where you get the ridge lines and everything. And this is just like injection molded plastic. I don't know what type of resin it is, but it's pretty amazing. In this case, you get the hull as one complete piece. The deck comes off. I've got it snapped in place, but right now the deck snaps right in. And what they've done is they've 3D printed bulkhead in there as well. You should be able to see that. And fits amazing. They give you turned brass and turned aluminum for the masting and the barrels. There's the masting. There are the barrels. And then they give you metal shafting for the and then here, you know, then you get into the various 3D printed components. It measures 18 inches long, or a little bit under. It's pretty accurate. Oh, they also give you a base. And I forgot the best part. They give you the nice photo etch sheets, so you don't have to go find Gene and ask him to photo etch something for you. But interestingly, they give you a couple of redundant components. The portholes in this are nicely cast, but printed. But then they give you replacement portals up there. So if you're really a masochist, you can go ahead and replace them. But I wouldn't do it. The only thing wrong with this kit, two things that I have found at issue with this kit, is one is this deck should have a pretty noticeable camber to it, and it does not. It's a flat deck. The other issue is it's a 3-shaft vessel. Is the outboard stuffing tubes are represented in 3D, but they're not provided to you, and it's just a hull penetration. So I haven't yet found an underwater hull drawing of this class of ship to determine what's best. So I have to do some more research. Like I said, life's gotten in the way, and I haven't done a lot of research on this since I acquired it. But they offer a lot of other, not a lot, but they offer about a dozen other 3D printed vessels, all in 1/200 scale, which is pretty popular scale in China for radio control. So you can get some modern Chinese vessels, and you can go back to Seydlitz, some of the World War I cruiser, and then one of the British cruisers. Seydlitz runs about $480, interestingly, whereas this destroyer for 60 is a real bargain, and kind of fits in with the USS Ward, the old Revell kit, which is about 1:40, I think, in scale. So that's it from the high technology, other side of the spectrum, no rope walk in my household modeling.
All right, thanks, Charles. It's good to have you back in the meetings too. Don, anything to show today? Don, good?
Yeah, I don't have anything to show. I've been kind of down with a bulging disc issue.
Uh-oh.
A couple things I want to point out.
Did you fall off that ladder?
No. I'm actually helping my daughter put her new house together. I'm basically in the way, but
okay,
that's what my wife wants. Anyhow, last week was the anniversary of the sinking of the USS Dorchester, and that was the merchant and mariner ship that during World War II, where the four clergy handed off their life belts to soldiers to save them, and they sacrificed themselves. That's got a nice history on the bay. Merchant mariners ran out of Baltimore and Norfolk, all up and down the East Coast. They were coastal steamers, but wanted to point that out because we have a little something at the Matthews Maritime Foundation about that. It's very little, but the other big thing is yesterday is the anniversary of the sinking of the Marine Electric. Very important vessel. She's an old World War II T2 tanker. She was lengthened. The ship was falling apart probably when it was lengthened. The engineer was a Matthews man, and he refused to sail on her after that. Lots of connections to Matthews and Gloucester County there. They sink off the Virginia Capes. It starts a big thing in maritime law. It actually takes some of the control away from the U.S. Transportation Board and gives it to the Coast Guard, because there's a lot of wink and nod kind of crap going on. Basically starts the Coast Guard survival swimmer school, or the rescue swimmer school. The rescue swimmer who helped pull the three survivors out of the water, actually only pulled two of them out. He was a Navy rescue swimmer out of Norfolk, Naval Air Station, Norfolk, okay? But anniversary of that vessel sinking, the vessel was way past its prime, and I won't name the shipping company, but you know, it was just glue and spit to try to make things work. And oh, we're only going to get one more voyage out of it, but 34 men will lose their lives, or 31 men will lose their lives out of a crew of 34. And it actually institutes significant maritime law changes in America. The Coast Guard actually gets more control of a lot of the maritime law, and you know, result survival suits for the crew on North Atlantic passages, things like that. So there are several connections to Matthews County. So we're planning at the museum to highlight some of that once we get back into the swing of things, hopefully later on this summer, seeing how COVID goes. But anyhow, that's all I have. And Gene, your model is amazing.
Thank you.
All right, I'm done. Thanks.
All right, good to have some history along with the model stuff, so thanks for that. Mr. Lewis, you have anything to show today? You're muted.
Greg and Sean, I was looking for a book and I finally found it. The Cuddy Sark was built in 1869 or so. They had, the shipbuilders had started using something called Muntz metal, M-U-N-T-Z, Coppering was a very, very expensive process. Needless to say, it allowed the ships to keep at sea much, much, much longer than before they had coppering, but copper was expensive. So the Muntz metal was an alloy that was only 60% copper and 40% zinc, and it did the job. That gave the copper a little bit different color. It wasn't as orange, say, as pure copper would be. But Muntz metal, M-U-N-T-Z. I'm going to do some research on that. I was on the Cutty Sark just a little while ago, and it's kind of hard to tell. And you can go down, of course, in the, I'll call it a dry dock, but the exhibition dock, and be right up against the hull of the ship. And you see that Muntz metal pretty clearly. So just, and it wasn't used universally, needless to say. Copper was still the choice, but 60-40 copper, zinc, Muntz metal. That was just a note of history. I got this thing a little while ago and I've been itching to show it because I love it. So most of you guys have real wood shops. I don't. Pretty much everything I have is in miniature. I have a saw. That's about it. Pretty much everything else is in miniature. But I found this online, and it is a lathe. It comes from the Wish company, which you've all probably heard of, maybe even ordered from. And I wasn't sure what I was going to get because it was like $40, and it came with a tool. Yeah, that's the only tool I have right now. But this little thing can shape toothpicks into oars or looms in any event. It can shape masts and yards and the whole bit. It has variable speeds, about 7 different speeds. And of course, all the things that and that's it. It's like 30, $40. I can't remember how much I paid for it, but it's 30 or $40. Very adjustable, very adaptable. And I'm working mostly with hard woods, boxwood and fruit woods such as that. I don't know how it would do with basswood. I haven't tried that yet. But with the hardwoods, it works pretty well. Came from Wish, W-I-S-H, and like I said, it's about $40. And it's called a micro lathe, I believe. Well, it's all written in Asian, so I can't read it. But I'm really glad I got it. And I've put it to a lot of use making cannon barrels. I'm redoing a constitution for one of the museum's patrons. And all 20 of the carronades on the spar deck were made from boxwood dowels with this. And they look terrific to me in any event. That's all I got.
Cool. Bill Brown?
I've been working on the Chris Craft. This is a poplar lift method. There's 8 lifts, 1/2 inch. I think the last meeting I was actually at Tom's shop doing that. Since had fared the hull, and I've started planking it with cherry. And so far it's going along pretty well. I was able to, from the internet, there's a project boat that was up for sale that was pretty much disarray. You could see the individual planks on it. So I was able to determine the number of planks between the shear and the chine to get my plank widths. And I've just been chugging along, and it's going along pretty well. And this is the first time I've ever done the lift method. Tom mentioned it on he did it on his Liverpool. And he was the one that actually suggested I do that method. And I'll tell you, boy, you get a hull really quickly with that method once you have the plans. And I can't thank Mr. Lewis enough for telling me that the Mariners Museum had the plans, and I was able to get them, and they're good plans. So really appreciate that. And I'll be doing some 3D printing of some of the fittings. So Gene, you use Shapeways, right? You had mentioned?
Yeah. Them.
So I've been using Fusion 360, which is a free CAD tool to hobbyists to drive some of the 3D designs that to drive somebody like a Shapeways to make. So we'll see how it goes. Also been one of the Philadelphia club members, Todd, has a 3D printer. He was printing up engine louver for me. So getting a lot of support from my friends here. So I appreciate that very much.
All right. Thanks, Bill. Does Wiggles the cat have anything to share?
He's anxious, but not today.
And neither do you?
No, I don't know anything either.
Okay. How about you, Hank?
You get an interesting view of the cat, though.
Yeah, just got a nice one.
Yeah, mine came up really good too. My gas has been running pretty much nonstop. Yeah, I've got some updates here. Okay, well, last month I had some technical difficulties and couldn't really show these here. So this is Beagle. This is where I am here now, and I had gotten the two of the boats mounted. I got the davits for two side wellers here, and they'll get mounted once the rigging is done. And got anchors on, and what else up in the bow. Up in the bow, went ahead and put the figurehead on. One source I read says ships of this class didn't have figureheads. Another source said sometimes they did, and it was very common to use animals. So it was in the kit, so I stuck it on there. There's the Beagle. And got the anchors on. And I scratch built something. I made oars. So I figured put those on there. And on the jolly boat there too, made some oars for that one too. And I got that strung. Oh, this piece here I hadn't mentioned before. This is a sounding reel. So when you survey, naturally in shallow water, you just throw the lead and mark what your depths are. But in deeper water, you can't do that. This is the first survey ship that ever had a sounding reel on it to where they could actually drop a heavier lead in deeper waters and crank it back up. So that was added a lot to survey and charting at the time. And let's see, I got the bowsprit and the foremast pretty much assembled. And there they are, just stuck on there. Nothing's glued in until I get the rest of them made. And I'll start putting that together. So that's where Beagle is right now. You're muted, Greg.
Very nice, Hank.
Yeah, normally holding down the space bar unmutes you, and it wasn't working. I don't know, maybe that's the only thing I changed was opening up the chat window. I don't know why that would affect it.
Thanks, Bill.
Let's see, I think the order has changed. Tom's next, but I think we already talked. Oh, he left and came back. I think that's what it was. Bill has already been asked. John Cork doesn't have a camera. Joshua left. So I think that's everyone. All right, cool. Well, hey, thanks for showing and telling. You want to keep it open for some chat, or do we adjourn for the day?
Oh, I have a question for you.
Ron's holding his hand up as well. Go ahead, Gene.
Yeah, Sean, in the photos you showed of Constitution and dry dock, did I see some hogging there? Is that a problem with the ship?
Yeah, I understand that that's an ongoing problem they have with the Constitution is hogging. That I guess that's plagued it its entire life. That because it was built so long, to handle the extra firepower that over the British versions, that hogging was a constant issue. And they have to, when they do dry dock it, they do have to try to correct it. And I think they, if I read correctly, I think they added some internal bracing or something to try to see if they could overcome that this last dry docking.
Actually, that particular, the Constitution and the President, if you go back to before they sailed it back in '87, what they found is they found in the British archives, because remember British archives, they captured the president, and the British basically take lines off whatever they captured. Well, in that they found out that the president had diagonal riders in it. And it turns out in the 1934 rebuild of the Constitution, they took the diagonal riders out. When they put it back together for 1987 for sailing, they put the diagonal riders back in, but because they had to put them into the ship without taking the ship apart, they were put in laminations and they were put in pieces. So the diagonal riders went in, and they thought when they did that, the hogging problem would go away, but obviously it still got some problem. When they were rebuilding it prior to '87 sailing, it was hogged almost 3 feet.
Not being familiar with wooden boats and stuff, I mean, how dangerous is hogging on a ship like that? I mean, is it in peril, or is it something? Is it just cosmetic?
It's in peril. As a matter of fact, the Constellation in Baltimore. For those that don't know, Dana Wagner was working for Hyman Rickover at the time. What happened was the Constellation was donated by the Navy to the city of Baltimore. City of Baltimore took it thinking that it was the frigate that was built in 1890, that was built as one of the 6 original frigates. So they were calling it the oldest ship in the Navy. When it was turned over to Baltimore, it was in the configuration of a sloop. And they tried to change it back into a frigate. And in so doing that, they weakened it so bad that it was shipping thousands of gallons of water every day. Okay. So they dry docked it. And what they found was that just prior to the, I want to say in 1850, the original Constellation was in sinking condition. And like budgets being budgets with the military, with the Navy, they had money to rebuild ships, but not to build new ships. So what they basically did is they took Constellation apart. They built another ship down the ways a little bit in Norfolk, called the Constellation, but the Constellation was a sloop. And as such, they launched it as a sloop. What was significant about the Constellation, which is the one that's now in Baltimore, was that even though it had no connection to War of 1812 or anything like that, it was a big part of the anti-slave interdiction, number one. And number two, it was the last all-sail ship built for the United States Navy. So somebody finally convinced them down in Baltimore, hey, you still have a historically significant artifact. So finally they put it in the dry dock and they basically rebuilt it with a lot of composite timber. And as she sits in Baltimore now, she is the sloop that was launched in 1857. So anyway, but yes, when they tried to convert it into a frigate from a sloop, they weakened it so badly that it started hogging so badly that they actually had to fodder a sail underneath it to cut down the leakage. That's how bad it was.
Oh, that's fascinating. I'm sorry.
I don't know. Did it? Was anybody in Mystic when they were redoing the Morgan, the Charles Morgan? Right alongside it, pulled up on land, was the MSC Berry. and I got a great shot of the keel of the MC Berry, and I have never seen more hogging in a ship, especially one of that size. It's not that big.
Yeah.
In my life, it must have been hogging. Did you see it, Tom? It's about a foot
Yeah.
of hog.
Yeah,
About
I
mid-
did. Yeah, I did. And you know, I'm not a marine engineer, but basically the reason for it is because the center section is a whole lot more buoyant than the ends. So yeah.
In fact, in the early 19th century, I think, maybe late 18th, shipwrights in the major yards in England would build a rocker into the keel. So you actually had a kind of a reverse hogging when she went out to sea, and that would level it over a period of time.
Straighten it out, yeah.
John Cork, if you're listening, John said he doesn't have a camera. My camera was kind of faithless after a while, and I got this little thing for, I think it's like $30, camera and tripod, and it hooks right into USB. So this will be my emergency if my computer camera fails. And John, if you don't have a camera on your computer at all, I would suggest that you might have the whatever it takes inside your computer to use one, and then you'll have a camera. Simple little things like $30. No, probably wasn't even that much.
John, any further news on the museum opening, or just the way it's been, status quo?
No, I think I communicated to everybody that the teams in the museum are still working harder than they ever did.
Sure.
They would come in maybe 2 or 3 days a week, alternate, so we have people in the museum. But plans are still for May, possibly late May. That hasn't changed yet, but you have to understand that it is subject to change depending on how everything else works out. But no other news, and rest assured, as things change, I won't wait for a logbook. I'll keep everybody informed as to what's going on. Take pictures, whatever needs to be done, because I think May looks pretty good. It's going to be a nice, clean shop. I'll guarantee you that, and all precautions will be taken. I've had communications with Jean-Ville Zegner and many on the staff, of course, Howard and everybody else, that this is going to be a very user-friendly but very safe museum to visit and, of course, to work in.
Well, we can certainly fix that.
Ron, will we have a new meeting room when we come back?
I'm sorry, Ryland?
Will we have a new meeting room when we come back? Or will we still be upstairs in the classrooms?
I don't know. It may be, the museum was thinking about shifting us to the downstairs area where the old changing gallery was. That's been turned into a very nice classroom. I've done some presentations from that room a couple or 3 times. I've got some more coming up in March, April, May, and June. It's very roomy, and it will have all the equipment. The reason after that room opened, the reason we stayed upstairs is that the technical stuff hadn't been completed in that in the downstairs room. So I don't know. I'll keep you posted as that comes up, however.
How about the taco stand? We just a little bigger.
Fresh tacos every day, as I understand it. Just another perk. It's going to be safe.
All right. Starting to hear the crickets chirp. So thanks everyone for joining. It's good to see y'all. And
Great meeting, guys.
Yep. See you again in a month. And in
you,
between
guys.
then, stay in touch.
Take care.
Everybody stay healthy.
Okay.
Stay safe.
Thank you.
See y'all guys.
Oh,
Does this mean that the torch has been passed?
oh, yeah.
I am no longer the second banana.
All in favor, say aye.
Yay.
Okay, we're there.
All right. See you
Good
next
seeing
month.
Charles.
Well,
Bye.
Yeah.